minutes is how workflow learning increased plant productivity at Colgate-Palmolive. Just a few housekeeping um, items. So we want this to be collaborative and interactive. So we've all been on webinars before. So you'll see at the bottom of your screen, there's a chat function. You can certainly send your Q&A to everyone, or if there's something private you want to get more specific with, you be sure to send that to David Singheiser. Immediately after the call, we will be recording this. So anyone that needs to drop off or have colleagues that weren't able to join, we're certainly going to be sending that recording out to you. And feel free to broadcast that with your other colleagues. So with me today, I have Bob and Darren. So quick introductions. Greg Gross here. Again, I'm going to be taking you through really our journey with Colgate-Palmolive and our gracious partner, Apply Synergies. I managed the U.S. operations here at Expertise. Everyone probably, most all of you know Bob, who's on the line, CEO and Chief Learning Evangelist at Apply Synergies. We go way back to the Element K days in the early 2000s, if people remember that company. And then finally, last but certainly not least, Darren Doshi, who is the learning leader for Colgate's global supply chain. Many of you know Colgate. They're one of the world's most penetrated brands and have been around for centuries. So Bob, Darren, anything more to add?
Nothing there.
All set. Great to start the session. Looking forward to it.
So Darren, I'll turn it over to you, my friend.
Thanks, Greg. And I'd just like to talk about our purpose as a company. We are Colgate, a caring, innovative growth company, reimagining a healthier future for all people, their pets, and our planet. And I'd like to talk a little bit about our four main categories of business: oral care, our flagship brand Colgate, and our mouthwash and toothbrushes, where we are the leader globally on the manual toothbrush area. Pet nutrition, sometimes people don't always associate that with us, but Hills is one of our core brands, and pet nutrition, a big business part of our business. Personal care products like soft soap, Protex, and more recently, Elta and PCA, and a whole bunch of home care products, all of which very well known brands globally. Thanks, Greg.
So let's turn it up. So our agenda, what are we going to do today? A little bit about who we are. Darren mentioned that. Why should we care? Obviously, hey, thanks for registering and joining the call today. Some of you, you're going to be learning for the first time. Others, I'm sure, have some business challenges that they want to tackle. So, we're certainly going to go into why you should care about workflow learning. What are we creating? So we're going to show a visual of a few solutions so you can visualize how this might impact your specific company. And then discussions throughout. We're certainly going to share results. Again, we want to be the Q&A to be collaborative. There's going to be some interjections throughout the webinar. So David, who's our moderator, he's going to be answering some of those questions. So who we are. So if you think about Apply Synergies, their passion is workflow learning. And when we mean workflow learning, 90% of us are in the flow of work. We're not in a training event. We're not at a seminar. Well, none of us at our seminars right now. We're not being coached. We're actually working. So they're passionate about standing up workflow-centric solutions within a company. How do they do that? The 5 moments of need methodology. It's their proprietary learning methodology. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Bob's going to ground you just with a few slides of why it's important and some of the impact that it has. At Expertise, we're a boutique consulting firm that really specializes in standing up these 5 moments of need solutions And we have a software, an electronic performance support software that allows us to do that in a seamless manner. And all we're trying to do, if you're to leave with anything, is provide context to content, or in some cases, 2 clicks and 10-second support. Bob, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Greg. So appreciate that. Friends, do me a favor, if you wouldn't mind, in the chat. Seeing a lot of wonderful friends and colleagues here that have been in this before. If you would put in chat whether you have heard of the 5 moments before. How many of you have heard the pitch? So if you would in chat, give me Alfred, of course. Julie, look at all you folks. Marco, look at you. Rob. The names are going by so fast that I can't even keep up with all you. Good. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, good. It's kind of getting out there, isn't it? The interesting thing, friends, is it's kind of becoming a global phenomenon in many ways, which is so appropriate to where we are today. Why should we care? Oh my gosh, how can we not today? We are in the most remarkable, I don't know what word to use, time I've known in my life, both professionally and personally. So Greg, if you get us into the first slides there, we have got to understand how to get to people in a different way. We have to care more about, and not that we didn't before, but be more intentional, that's probably a better word, about how we are meeting our learners in the moment of need and the workflow itself. So for those who are new to this, we're going to ground you pretty quick in a couple of slides. So Greg, if you want to move ahead there and get to the chart. The reality, friends, is for too long, this has been our world. We've been in this green training world forever, schooling people up. I'd like 5 days of training on. I want 3 e-learnings that help with. I don't know about you guys, but as an L&D professional, that is not why I got in this business. Sure, those were deliverables at one point in my professional life, but the reality is I want to be in the competency and continuous improvement world that you see out there to the right. And I think it's arguable enough to say that mastery has not been enough. We have got to be and should be known for and intentionally have deliverables that are all about competency. Our ultimate measure is not people knowing stuff. It is their ability to transfer. And as the question mark shows, I would argue till I stumbled on this methodology almost 20 years ago, I didn't have an answer for the blue part. I sure hope that it helped, but look at the green death spiral of knowledge, I sometimes call it, right? I did not intentionally design, play, or deliver in transfer. And folks, come on, COVID, the world we live in today, the world of continuous improvement, the world of sustain is really where we live and should be targeted. Great, if you click one more time there for me, friend. This is another place that we have had very little to no impact on. And what I love about this chart is it laid out for me as a learning professional how little I impacted the journey that is performance, not learning. Performance, not learning. We are ultimately in the performance business. So how do you get there? You add what's called performance support or workflow learning. It is an underpinning principle that impacts this chart like nothing I've ever done, and I've done a lot to training in my, here comes, 38 years. Some of you may not be 38 years on this call of doing this. And when you do, watch what happens. If you do workflow learning well, 3 powerful things happen to this chart. Number 1, training is reduced on average by half. Time to competency reduced on average by half. And more importantly, learners' ability to continue to grow, even without my direct intervention, i.e. more training deliverables, it's off the chart, right? So what is the domain? What is this discipline? It is something called workflow learning. And workflow learning, to be specific, if you click one more, Greg, workflow learning is the embedding of learning in the workflow to support it while people do their work. Friend, it's not things available at the workplace, i.e., if I may, an LMS or e-learning. Those are tools we've had available at the workplace. That's not workflow learning. Workflow learning is contextually embedding it, as you'll see in the beautiful examples you see in a moment, while the work is going on. So it's consumed and it is a part of being a better performer. What's it done with? The tools of the trade. It is done with performance support and something called an EPSS. So we have to shift our design, friends, from a content-based one to a context-based one. Context to a learner is all about their needs, and they have 5 of them. In chat, anyone want to get an A for the class and put in the 5 moments that you know? Who knows the words in chat? Give me what, oh, there, look at you, Paul. New, more. You guys could be given this presentation, couldn't you? I know that you can. What are the others? What's the most important one? New, more, apply, solve, change. Look at you guys. Apply. We've been in the, as you see on the slide, friends who don't know this, we have been in the new and more business forever. This is formal instruction. And by the way, they are absolutely defendable needs. But again, as long as we've stopped here, we have not gone below this line that'll appear on your slide. We have remained in the new and more business when our learners live in the apply, change, and solve business. So if you look at the moments 3 through 5, this was, guys, this slide was a professional pivot for me about 15 years ago in my career, because I was all over 1 and 2, and I had very little impact on 2 and 3 through 5. So if you click one more, Greg, this is the world I have pivoted to in my design, and that you'll see us demonstrate in just a moment. It is all about designing first for the world of apply, not new and more, and add job aids if you have time, right? So if you click again, Greg, it is all about building for apply first. What does an apply first model look like? We use something called the performance support pyramid, friends. And the performance support pyramid is a hierarchical, intentional way to live in the blue, if you remember the slide, not the green. It's a top-down minimalist model. By minimalist meaning, that's why we use a pyramid. At the very top, we give them only enough to get back to work, which is all they want. But sometimes it's not enough. We have to layer on more. So as you look down the pyramid, the layers get wider, they get more robust, and they get more helpful, frankly. So the top layers are very to the point, task, and what's called supporting knowledge oriented. If you click again, Greg, we want to focus on the context of the problem, and in the context of doing work, give them just enough to get back to work and the knowledge to support it, and hope that's enough. It's often not, but hope it's enough. When it's not, what do we give them? Resources, learning, people, so that they can get back to work. All again, pivoted on the context. Friends, this isn't SharePoint scattershot, if I may. This is highly driven, as you'll see in a moment, by a powerful tool called an EPSS and the context of the workflow that our workers are in. So with that, I'll pass it back to Greg to talk about the instance we're here today and some live examples of that pyramid.
No, thanks for that, Bob. So I know many of you on the line are visual. So what we often like to do in these types of webinars is actually show you a solution. So this is a typical solution that we've collaborated with Colgate-Palmolive on. And when we go back to that other slide, it's all about Ask Delphi. How do we bring to life the 5 moments that Bob showed you? Well, we purpose-built Ask Delphi to do just that. With the 5 moments coupled with technology to enable it, then it allows the operator, in this case on the plant floor, to get that two clicks and 10 seconds contextual information. So I'm going to paint a picture of a problem. So I'm on a typical line. I'm with my fellow operators on the line. There's a few of us that have been on the line for years. Others, given the environment we're in right now, we're asked to do things that we don't typically do. And then you have a few neophytes that just went through onboarding and they're scared to death. So with performance support in Ask Delphi, they use it in a few ways. You can see the monitor here where they might have an issue. They can click on that monitor. In this case, the operator has a mobile device. If I click on that, it's immediately going to bring me into what we call performance support. So let me park it here. Bob, can you see that screen with the process flow?
Nope, I'm still seeing the slide deck.
Okay, hold on.
You may have to go off this. You may have to take this. There you go.
Yeah, hold on.
Take the slide deck off and then share the other screen.
All right, let me know if you see it now.
Sure do. All good.
Perfect. So when you clicked on that mobile device, here's what it's bringing up for the user. You're going to see one thing. First, it's personalized. Hello, David Singheiser. So we integrate with their SSO technology. So the relevant content that I need to perform my job comes up just for me. And oftentimes, what is a typical day in the life of an operator? Before performance support, it was, I'm going to grab my subject matter expert, or, oh no, I have to go on the product portal and hopefully I'll find something, or maybe I'll even pick up that dusty manual and try to find what's going on with this filler. Now they can quickly see, well, this is the process is that I do to perform my daily operations. And in this case, I need to respond to an upset condition. So if I simply click on that, if you think about the pyramid, it brings up one, a visual of the filler, and then the tasks that an operator performs during his daily job, some frequent, some infrequent, on typically tasks that happen when I'm working with a filler. So if I clicked on respond over under bottle fill, I know it's underweight. Here it's just going to give me the succinct steps and how to do that. So I'm a seasoned operator at Colgate. Look on that information, boom, I'm done. I can get back to performing. But what about that seasoned operator that came from another line? What if they need more information? I have all the information over here in this accordion-like supporting knowledge, reference resources, and learning resources. So let me close this just so I can succinctly show it to you. And perhaps I simply wanted to see a video. Well, instead of going to the video server and trying to find that specific video, it's going to launch that for me. In this case, it's just a demo. Or perhaps, I need to fill out an SOP compliance form. Again, instead of going to the safety server on the internet, it pulls it up right in line. So I can quickly look at that information. I can fill it out. I can print it. And at the end of my shift, I can give it off to my FP&R planner. Or maybe because safety's first at the plant, maybe I'm a little bit nervous about this. And if it happens again, why not look at my standard safety information? Again, right there for me. So I, as a learner, based on my needs, I can self-support. I can get the steps, or maybe I need a video, or maybe I need to take it deeper with filling out an SOP document. It's all right there for me. So that's an example of the pyramid. Start small with just steps, then detail, and then supporting knowledge. So now I'm going to show you, I'm going to go back to the actual task at hand. And I want to show you some social components of it, because when you think of performance support, it's not siloed. Yeah, it's for me, but hopefully I can share this and I can use it as a reference resource in my daily life, meaning I want to access this not for just the problem at hand, but maybe I just want to access it for a reference resource. So in this case, with respond to underweight conditions, if I clicked on this, I can do 3 or 4 things. I can like it. I can add notes. Customized to me. Remember, it's personalized. When I come in here to look at this content, it's for Greg Gross, no one else. Next time I see it, I'm going to see the notes that I took. Maybe I want to pin it to my favorites. Maybe it's a critical task that I want to add. So the next time I go into my performance support solution, it's right up here on the right-hand side, right into my favorites. Or perhaps I want to share this link with other plants within my network. Hey, you might want to learn this. It really helped us at our plant. Again, it's just a way where you can collaborate within the plant or within the global plant network. And again, we're on a call talking about one use case. You can apply this to whatever vertical or business challenge that's occurring or reoccurring at your company. And then finally, as you can see, you can actually call someone or send somebody an email. So typically before, that was the first thing the operators did. Now it's the last thing. So what's it doing? It's freeing up plant resources so the SME that was answering many of those questions, he or she is actually working versus trying to fix a problem. That's all we're trying to do there. So if I wanted to leave you with two things with this demo, uh, we're quite frankly, we're just trying to put context to content. I haven't worked with a company that didn't lack for content, but again, it's all over the place. All we're trying to do is put context to it, and we're giving the operator or the call center employee or the sales rep out in the field a better way to utilize not only the content that you have, but the systems it supports. So Bob, Darren, I'm going to pass it back. And if there's any questions that people have right now, we can park it for a few minutes too, Bob, and answer.
Yep, no questions so far, Greg. I think we're in good shape. We'll keep an eye. Again, folks, please put them in the chat if you want, if it's helpful, and we'll be sure to get to them as soon as we can.
All right. Let me share my screen again. I apologize. Darren, to you,
Thanks, Greg, and thanks for that, Greg. And I'm going to cover performance support at the moment of need, as we call it, and I'll start with our vision and take us through all the way to the retrospective. On this slide about our vision, you'll see on the bottom left-hand corner a couple of pieces of equipment. The next slide, Greg. And I'm going to walk you through from the bottom left here, where you see a couple of pieces of equipment which we use to find individuals and hire people who have the right mechanical orientation and have the appropriate electrical skills. So assume that we've done that, we've brought people into the company who have got the right skills. Then we use the 5 moments of need to analyze our equipment. And that analysis of the equipment in terms of what we should provide in terms of performance support for the operators using the 5 moments of need very nicely flows on the right into that box you see with a little blue and with a lot of sub boxes in it. That's the Ask Delphi solution that Greg was just previewing. And a couple of years ago, we started to use the speech video technology to reinforce the content that is within Ask Delphi. And this is our approach towards driving performance support at the moment of need. In the next slide, as we think of the journey that we've taken, it's been over a few years, and we started this journey, Greg, in 2017. Next slide, Greg. Where we created this vision, and in late 2017 and through 2018, once we had been exposed to the concept of 5 moments of need, we began to do proof of concept at our sites, ran it on a pilot line, socialized that opportunity around the world with our leaders, and then trained a whole bunch of people to be able to complete the 5 moments of need analysis. In 2019, we began the rollout of Ask Delphi and the 5 moments of need capability to a number of sites globally, and identified the speech video capability to reinforce and support what we were providing to our operators. Last year, we continued our expansion and ran another certificate program for 5 moments of need globally. And this is now bringing us to a point where we're really focused on leveraging these capabilities for all of our new technology, and then eventually getting to the idea of building our capability once in one location and deploying it everywhere. So as you think about how we're applying this, Bob talked about the 5 moments of need task analysis, and I'd like to just go into that a little bit deeper here. We see that to be the most structured approach of analyzing manufacturing equipment that I've come across in, and our folks have come across in all the years I've worked at Colgate, and I'm on my 32nd year here. What we really like beyond the analysis is the piece that's which is number two, which is to be able to assess the severity of an operator not being able to perform that job or that task. And then when you understand the severity, it helps you figure out whether that support needs to be provided through electronic performance support systems, or you need to reinforce it with classroom and other types of learning. So this then helps us think about the modality of delivering the learnings, the support to folks on the floor. So this is a powerful approach for us. We've now built capability, as you see here, globally to do 5 moments of need analysis in the next slide, where we have folks around the world who have this expertise, and this is going to be critical for us to go to the next stage of development where we move to build once and deploy everywhere. In this coming up slide here, so we're going to show you two examples, one from North America, which I'll talk to in this slide. And in this case, we're going to start at the top right, or sorry, the top left, where you see a table with product changeover, etc. This is information from 1 year of pilot at our first pilot site. And what you see is sustained over a year, we were able to drive a 3% improvement from baseline for operating efficiency, asset utilization, and unplanned downtime. Now, Ask Delphi and 5 moments of need were not the only thing, obviously, as you all work in many sites and you know that there are many initiatives in place. But we were able to track, and you see that in the bar chart below, that folks were actually using the information in the system for specific improvement targets that we had set. So we really wanted to drive changeover improvement, and we were able to track and see that there was correlation between improvement and the information they were getting on Ask Delphi. As you go to the right hand side of the slide in the bottom where you see the two bubbles, this is information from another site where we've implemented this. And what we're seeing now is that operators are able to, sometimes in the past, they would have to call an expert who's at home in the middle of the night. Now that expert's able to tell folks that this information is available on Ask Delphi. And folks are now, leaders on the line are saying, we wish we had this information at startup, which is something we're starting to work on for all new installations, where we're saying we want to have this basic capability of performance support for operators available at the point of startup.
Darren, may I jump in?
Sure, Bob.
There's a question. There's a couple of questions. We'll get to a couple
Sure.
of these in just a bit because they're general, but I think one specific to you. Rob Lauber asked about encountering issues with volume of information, how it's organized, and the speed of finding it. As you've journeyed into this, and EPSSs grow by nature, information changes and such. What's your, what I would call governance or maybe content management side of this been for your organization as the volume's grown?
It's a great question, Bob, because you know, we're in the early years, we're at the point of let's get acceptance, let's get utilization, let's get people putting things in there, and we're putting in more and more governance steps right now. So for example, on the support system that Greg showed, we actually have individuals who own each one of those pages. We have a feedback and ask for help button that's within Ask Delphi that says, if I find something that is not accurate, then I have an ability to go and tell someone that I have a better way of doing this, so that that person who owns that page gets that updated. And you'll see me, I'll also talk about how we want to drive it from a governance perspective globally by having leaders engage with the information on an ongoing basis. So it's a great question, Bob. Is there anything else?
Nope, all set. Thank you.
Great. So we'll swing to the other side of the world of an example from Asia. At this one site in Asia where we implemented it on two lines, a tube making line and a filling line. We then went back and with experience now we're doing pre-implementation surveys and post-implementation surveys, and we asked two groups of people. One, the people who manage the folks in the floor, the team leaders as we call them, as to what do you see to be the difference. We brought a brand new line, we brought new operators on. What do you see the difference by having the Ask Delphi performance support system? And they were able to say that we've got a 30% reduction in time to get to a level of performance that we would expect. So this is a significant change for us. They say the people are doing this on the job at the machine. You can utilize various media. It's organized in a way that the way the work is done. And I'll also make another comment that so a lot of us have performance support systems, and at the pilot site we tested this out. We used to have a performance support system going back 20 plus years. But when we asked an individual to look for a particular document, a person who was experienced with that EPSS, it took that individual 2 minutes, 43 seconds. And that individual had no experience with the Ask Delphi approach of laying information out. And we asked that person to go test it on that Ask Delphi system look for the same document. And that person was able to find it in 43 seconds. Now, that's not the 2 clicks and 10 seconds that Greg talks about, and we sometimes call it 3 clicks and 20 seconds. But it was significant difference versus the 2-minute 43. So with time, we are achieving that really quick delivery of information to people. Now, back to this slide, another case is they ask the operators, and the operators now want to see it implemented on all the lines. And they say it was helpful, and it's really helpful because you can learn while you're working, and you can also learn um, for new operators. We're also seeing it at the site where we first started, that now when people have, because of COVID, we've had a lot of people who have been away from work. And then when we need to move people between lines, they prefer to go to a line that has got everything set up at the Ask Delphi system.
Darren, can I jump in one time again?
Sure, please, Bob.
How about adoption of the system itself? Was there a lot of training involved to get the technology to have them be comfortable with it, or was it native enough that that wasn't a barrier? So the question is, if they're not techie savvy folks, maybe they work more in a manufacturing line that's not PC, so to speak, based. Did you find an issue with training them up on the tools itself, the S Delphi interface, or was it fairly intuitive, or that adoption happened fairly quickly?
Bob, to be very honest, we've not had difficulty in the adoption because typically all of our lines have some level of computer interfaces, right? So whether they're using the manufacturing MES system or other kinds of data collection systems, so getting that has not been a challenge. The challenge, which is where I'd like to come to in the reflection on the next slide, is really around the work that is required to stand up the system. So some of you have asked like how much training or maybe how much resources, etc. So what's worked for us is that where we have implemented this and where we are continuing to implement this, we're always asking the site to identify a couple of people who have been trained with the 5 moments of need methodology. We're asking them to have those people be like the lead resources to work with the expertise team, right? The second thing that's really worked is that when we first did this, we assessed what percentage of content you needed to stand up the Ask Delphi system was already available. In this case, we found there was between 60 to 70% of the information you needed was already available. So that's what worked. Where we see to be, well, I wouldn't say getting stuck, but what we can do better and continue to get better is really driving the conversation where the leaders are monitoring the usage data on Ask Delphi and the performance support system, and linking it back to operational issues. So wouldn't it be nice, we say, wouldn't it be nice that a team leader is having a meeting with his team and is able to talk about the major causes for downtime or lost production time for the last 1 week, and she or he is going to be able to pull up the data and say, look, tell me why. I'm really pleased you guys were looking at the information available on Ask Delphi, or tell me why you were not looking at the information available on Ask Delphi. And then you're able to deal with issues like, I don't think that's the best data there. Well, let's make sure we get the right information in there. So that's the piece we still are continuing to work on, which is a little bit about the governance piece, Bob. We saw definitely that operators did not like the idea of having to sign into multiple systems. So a single sign-on capability is really important. And clearly you do need resources to set up the system and stand it up. So these are some of the big takeaways for us as we continue to roll this out. Bob, any questions still?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Sure.
And Greg, you may jump in on these too. So one was the system you showed earlier and the one you used, Darren. Is there ability to link into other systems where other information may be housed, or even e-learning is available on an LMS? You know, is this another system on that they have to now learn on top of those, or can it be a way of interfacing and maybe a single source of truth, if you will, to these other repositories?
So great question. But Greg, I'll put my 2 cents in, and then we're doing one. We're linking it to our document management system, so we're able to do that. And secondly, we're already having a conversation to link it to our performance dashboards now. So we're at the point where we're just finalizing the details. So from our point of view, the answer is yes. Greg?
And I would just add, yeah, typical integrations, not to get too deep, but API, hard link integrations into LMSs, learning experience platforms, video servers, record stores. Uh, Analytics is always important. So if you have a proprietary or a Tableau-like system, we certainly want to integrate and get down to the KPIs.
Greg, this is one we hear quite a bit. This is brilliant for a procedural based approach, which obviously a manufacturing line follows that kind of thing, particularly with processes. What do you find with the pyramid in designing for things that are more, if you will, soft skills, right? Is this something that can be done for leadership, for an onboarding program, for sales training? Does it go beyond things that seem to be fairly procedure based?
Yeah, process is certainly a sweet spot, but we've also designed and implemented solutions. You mentioned sales and marketing. If you think of a salesperson gets onboarded, certainly they're going to be in their client relationship management software for the majority of their time, interacting with clients, leads, things of that nature. But they also have to do methodology training. They have to go through soft skills, let's say negotiating training. You can set that up where it's tied to the process, and then those soft skill content isn't sitting out there on an island also. It's maybe step 3 of the process is negotiating, and it brings up that, some of the more specific steps. Here's an e-learning, or, hey, I need to register for a class. So we often involve some of the soft skills type topics and content. Diversity and inclusion DEI is a big one right now. Why wouldn't it not be part of an onboarding process that still has technical and more operational things too?
Brilliant. Yep, we do leadership all the time. 80% of our work is soft skill type content. Greg, another one. How do you prioritize? And Darren, you may jump in here. How do you prioritize the content that should be uploaded into the EPS? Is there a way to find out what's the most important, what's challenging? How do you decide what parts of the EPSS are built out more than others, or maybe ones you emphasize more than others?
So great question, and I'll go back to the 5 moments of need task analysis. And when you've done the task analysis with subject matter experts, you've done the severity analysis that really guides you as to what you need to work on first and foremost, and integrate into the system. So that's the way we started, and continue to improve that. I think the follow-up question to that is really about how do you make sure you keep it clean, and that's really around having that owners who have responsibility for managing that information there. And
Probably have time for one more question, so I'll get to this real quick, and then folks, by all means, you'll see in a moment emails and such after to send us more as the dust settles, and of course the recording will be available after. The impact on mobile accessibility, who asked Alfie, what was the adoption of mobile versus PC based? Was there a difference, or was it more based on performance and the operator themselves?
so I'll perfectly honest that most of our initial applications have all been on on a location on a computer screen, but all of the development work that we're doing with expertise is to be able to access it now on mobile devices, and we're starting to accept to do that. On the other hand, where we've done, say, in support of the expertise platform or the Ask platform, speech videos are being delivered through um, mobile devices with absolutely no issues at all. I just was talking yesterday to a global audience. In Latin America, we have implemented the adoption, completion of all of our quality annual training in a particular plant, increased compliance from 80 to 97% by deploying it through mobile devices.
Yeah. And to add to that, if you're thinking of an operator, and what we're contemplating right now is you go up to the line, in Vietnam, maybe they just use mobile devices, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
You would use a QR code, and then it would bring up that task or that process right on your mobile
Mm-hmm.
phone.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Folks, I think we're getting to our time. Might have to head to wrap up, but these have been great questions, friends. Appreciate everyone sharing and asking.
Well, look at that, Bob. Here's our summary slide. Dear and Bob, jump in here, but I'll guide us through this. So workflow learning allows companies to, well, that was a question. Train on what's truly critical. And to add to Darren's comment, when I was in that first plant, the plant manager kind of scratched his head the first few days we were with him, and he didn't get it. When he got it was when we surfaced the truly critical tasks that operators needed to know, and saw that, why am I training them on everything when I need to get them in a room and really nail down these 50 things and these 6 catastrophic tasks. So train on what's truly critical. You don't have to worry about the fire hose so much anymore. Contextualize existing training resources. Everyone on the phone has good content. It's well intended. All we're doing is trying to contextualize it. It promotes social discourse, collaborative learning, and real-time feedback. When I showed the demo, I know you're taking a lot in right now. You have a chance to serve your own purpose, but also collaborate with other peers, and you can provide real-time feedback to content owners so they can always keep the content crisp and clean. Governance structure. When I started doing this in 2007, it was all about, how can I embed performance support into an IT system, and the UX needs to be amazing. Well, the reality is we need much more than IT system support. And it's just as important to establish a hierarchy in terms of how we govern content, meaning business matter experts, subject matter experts, learning and development, content owners. Between Apply Synergies and expertise, we really put some thought into doing that. And then finally, we always want to connect it to key performance indicators. So how can we integrate with your analytics tools to really drive performance, no matter what your business challenge or vertical market is? Last slide. So we can continue with the Q&A, but we know all of us are one thing, we're time starved, so we wanted to keep this at 45 minutes. Any immediate follow-up that you need, please send out an email to David Singheiser, who was with us today, and we'll be sure to get back to you timely. Here's our websites. And then finally, we did record it, so we'll be sending out that recording. And Bob, I'll hand it over to you for maybe some closing remarks from a thought leader, and Darren too.
Well, friends, I think there was a time in our industry where this was an option. I don't think that's an option anymore. The needs that our learners have been under the last 10 months and that will continue for months to come, if not years, based on the world that has changed. Even when we hopefully go back to doing this in person, we have an opportunity to accelerate an approach that has been around for a long time, but it's been tough to get to our learners because frankly, they've been comfortable with what normal used to be. Well, friends, not normal anymore. Ship and harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for. The world is tumultuous and scary. The more we can reach learners where their moments of needs are, and we can do it now like never before, the better we'll be valued, and more importantly, the more we'll do what we're called to, and that is impact performance over the long haul. So Greg, Darren, great idea, great examples. Thanks for inviting me.
Darren,
And Greg,
any
the
closing
comment I would
remarks?
add, is more from a manufacturing perspective. As you look globally, where we are now struggling to find people with the right skills, there's new people coming onto the workforce, and more changes that are happening. We are starting to see this as a minimum that we need to deliver to the folks on the front line in order to support them for higher performance. Thanks again for having me.
Thanks, Darren. So again, this concludes our webinar. Appreciate everyone giving us the 45 minutes, and we'll be sure to send the follow-up information in a timely manner. Have a good rest of the week.